There's a forever battle between black men and black women, but it's mainly a battle between the good black men and black women. But online, you have a lot of black women that make videos disrespecting the black man. Well, this video is for black men on why you should stop stressing what a black woman has to say about you from Anthony Spade's perspective. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Anthony Spade channel. Before I get started, I want you to watch the entire video. If you like the video, press the like button, press the subscribe button, and the notifications button at the end of the video. Okay, today we're going to be talking about why black men need to stop stressing and ignore the things that black women may say about him online. Now, when it comes to black women, I typically don't deal with black women at all. And I don't deal with white women at all. And I think everyone knows my stance on white women. But today I'm going to break down my psychological reasoning as to why I believe black women are the way that they are and why things have always existed, why there's always been a battle between black men and black women. Right? Let's get into it. Okay, first, when it comes to black women, I always go back to slavery. See, during slavery, black people in general became accustomed to not being with each other too long. In a lot of cases, once a woman was pregnant, the guy that fathered her would typically be sold off. So that's what caused the black family to separate, all right? That was installed inside of black people's minds, neurological system, and DNA, and became a hereditary trait that got passed down from generation to generation to generation. You have to realize a lot of generations went through slavery, so it became a way of life. It's the only thing that black people knew was not to love each other for long periods of time, and that the bond would eventually be broken. So black people in general have a mindset where they are prepared to not be friends with someone for a long period of time because it's just in the DNA. We're always looking to get a new friend because we're always expecting the love between the friends that we have to leave. So understand, black people can generally disconnect love overnight. Now, let's get between the disconnection between the black man and the black woman. That came when slavery ended. See, you have to understand, when slavery ended, a lot of black women stayed on the plantation because a lot of black women believe in sense of security. They didn't know what money was. They didn't know what the food was. So a lot of women and male slaves stayed, but a lot of men left. All right, while the women stayed to be maids, right? But while the women stayed on the plantation, a lot of these women were treated like the side chick because a lot of those ex-slave owners were still having babies with black women, and those black women were taking care of the slave owner's baby and the kids with the slave owner and his master. So a lot of black women got pushed into that lifestyle closer to white people, to where she felt like she was comfortable with them, while a lot of the black men were trying to go and get their freedom because that's all black men could do. They had no need for black men that were in the field. So what you had was a state like Wisconsin and Virginia. Those were the states that was pretty much the borderlines between slave states and free states. Most of the slaves were looking to get to free states just to be on the safe side. But after slavery, what was formed was license to kill black people. It was called a hunting license for niggers. And this really existed. In places like Virginia, Wisconsin, and Maryland, those states that separated between the slave states and the free states, It's where those licenses were given out so black people couldn't cross over. So this is where a lot of black men from the 1863 all the way up into 1938, it became a ritual to catch a black man and lynch him because black men became better at getting around those states. They became better at hiding. So black men had a war against them. If you go and look at a lot of the lynching pictures, it was mainly just black men because a lot of black women stayed back and stayed on the plantation. This type of lifestyle existed for almost 70 years. The separation between the black man and black woman. Now, did you have families? Yes, but a small percentage. Did you have marriages? Yes, but a small percentage. Still, majority of the black race was separated. Black women were one way and black men were another way. But it was more of a war on black men because they needed the black men to die off so they wouldn't be powerful enough to take over. So they stopped lynching black men whenever we had to go to war. They needed black men to fight the war because other nations were recruiting black men from Africa to go to war. So in America, the black men were all sent to war. So they were given an option, go to jail or go to war or die. That pretty much was left for a black man. And if you think about it, all the way up into today's time, that's pretty much the only option for majority of black men is to immediately go into the military or learn how to play a sport, entertain, or die. That's what we've been taught. I personally have did 8 years in the military. So I kind of felt like that was my options. All my uncles and my mom were in the military. A lot of black people I know were there. Black people that were in the military get respected more than black people that wasn't in the military because during that time where they were recruiting blacks, that's the only time that they got their respect from white people, is going into the military to fight for their freedom. And to this day, that mindset still exists in white people. They love black people that have been in the army or wars fighting for them. So back at that time, a black man would get his respect going into the military. He'll go off into war while the black women still stayed back and they were servants and maid to the white people. But when those wars ended, you had this thing called welfare. All right. So when welfare kicked in and the black men were coming back from the wars, the black men were still not getting jobs. They came back from the war, but they wasn't getting jobs. But when they came back, black women were able to get welfare. They went from being servants to white people to all of a sudden gaining power over a black man. It allowed her to go from being a servant to now being head of household and gaining power. She felt like she had the upper hand over the black man, even though he went to war, because she developed a hate from being around the white people too long. Black women were side chicks to white dudes with white wives, while black men were being aimed to be killed so they could not take over. So when they got the welfare, now, in order for her to keep her freedom, in order for her to keep her power, she had to make sure no man was in the household. Once she got married, she wasn't getting welfare. Once she had a kid and she wasn't married, she can get the welfare. So black women are programmed that the more kids I have, the more money I make, the more independent I am, the more powerful I stay. But she doesn't appreciate her money. So what she does is she lives a life as if she earned it. This is why you have a lot of women that have egos. It's because they don't need a man for nothing but sex. They have everything else. And that mindset has existed forever for black women. There has never been a time in our history in America where black women were actually housewives. Have you had housewives along the way? Yes. But you have not had black families that had formed and was known for being a family for generations at a time. We have not had that at all as black people, and black women have never just been stay-at-home housewives. Since welfare came, they've always had the power, but they've always had the same hate as the white people that they worked for that hated blacks. It just passed down from generation to generation. This is why she doesn't respect you. It's because her curse came around since slavery, and it's been that way. You're not gonna think of one part of the world, name 1 year that black women were known for being housewives. 1 year. Black women been on welfare since 1948. Margaret Sanger, remember? She helped black women do that. Black women kept getting pregnant. Margaret Sanger was trying to stop the black women from having kids, while the government was giving her power to keep her away from the black man. And all it did was just, over the years, all she did was just lose respect. But as a black man, you need to understand this about a black woman. She only needs the semen out of you. This is why they date losers. They date the guy that can entertain them and maintain being a little boy for the rest of his life, so she constantly needs him. But when it comes to her daughter, her and her daughter fight so much, so hard, that her daughter runs out there, have a kid, and now her daughter needs her. Everything that a black woman does is for you to be a servant to her. She'll tear your motherfucking life down just so you ask her for help. She don't know how to build a business with you, bro. A black woman don't know how to do none of that. She knows how to have sex and have kids. That's it. Stop taking it personal. My advice as a black man, when you're in your earlier 20s, bang all the white women that you can get. You know why? Because the white women do the nasty stuff fast. Gag, booty, everything. They do it fast. Toss them back. Always keep your Spanish woman on the team, because a Spanish woman outgrows everything else faster than every other woman, unless she's Puerto Rican. I'm telling you, Spanish women outgrow the stupid stuff fast. Black women and white women ruin themselves for their 30s. I'm telling you, that's how it is. You cannot look at a woman in her 20s and determine where she's gonna be in her 40s. A lot of these women outgrow that, but when it comes to white and black women, they don't. They follow each other. The white woman wants to be black and the black woman wants to be white. Both of them together, they have too much power and they have too much of an ego. You ain't gonna go nowhere. You ain't gonna build nothing. You're gonna be stressed. I'm almost 40 and I still look like I'm 29 because I don't mess with white women and I don't mess with black women. One thing about a black woman, dog, the closer you get to them, the faster you gonna die. Same thing with a white woman. Look at every white man that's been with a white woman. He looks old. There ain't a white man walking around right now with a white wife who don't have gray hair or who ain't bald. And that's my views on why you need to ignore a black woman, because you ain't gonna go nowhere. This is Anthony Spade. Hasta la vista.